Hello, mother. Hello, father. I don't know the tune. Anyways, we've all heard that song. Hello, mother. Hello, father. But what if we change the lyrics to, can I drink some of your brown water? What? What song are you talking about? I've never heard of that before. It's the camp song. But what if we said, instead of, here I am at Camp Hiawatha, I say, whatever I said, I forgot what it was, drink some of your brown water. Now, also, what if we replaced mother with the word mummy? Super confused. You looked at your watch, you go, dude, it's 10 seconds in, and I'm already confused. And then we take a look at the story of a true Vore fanatic. But this just isn't any saga of some weirdo fetish. This comes from a man who checked himself into a mental health facility because he couldn't keep his urges down. But the doctors there have no idea how deep and dangerous his perverted fantasies can go. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. I'm sorry if I sound a little nasally, or should I say more nasally than normal. It's allergy season, so bear with me for the next couple months. But someone who loves allergies, someone whose life is meaningless unless he's stuffed up, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for Own the Monkeys. Woo! Yeah! He's running on in. He's purposely throwing pollen in. Get your nose stuffed up, Jason. Get it stuffed up nice and good. Own the Monkeys is a long-time Patreon supporter, long-time supporter of the show. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store, I totally understand, I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. And it's funny because this episode's disgusting, so this episode's really gross. So I had to find someone, a Patreon supporter who, I don't want to use the term throw under the bus, but yesterday I used the term sacrificial lamb. We got a lot of stuff to cover today, so Own the Monkeys, let's go ahead and get this party started. Let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the Jason Jalopy. We'll go classic. We'll start off classic. Everyone climb on board this lovable hunk of junk as Own the Monkeys drives us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to Italy. Nice leisurely drive out to the boot-shaped country, also known as Italy. And we go there. What do you do when you're in Italy, right? You go eat some Italian food. You eat Italian food. Now, I personally am not a fan of Italian food. I like Americanized version of it. Spaghetti with regular sauce. I don't want to see onions in my sauce. I don't put marinara on my noodles. Jason, we know you've talked before about how you personally cook spaghetti. You do it in a microwave. Yeah. Hey man, boiling water is boiling water. I throw some noodles into a big bowl and fill it full of water, put a little salt in there, throw it in the microwave for 15 minutes while you're sitting there slaving over the stove. Like, yes, Jason, because it tastes better. Whatever. Throw it in the microwave, and then I usually have a can of sauce. You're like, not even a jar? You're not even, like, putting a jar of sauce? Sometimes, right, get a nice jar of Prego sauce, and you pull it out. I like to not mix the sauce in with the noodles. I'm one of those guys who likes a plate of noodles with sauce on the top. But I don't want to see, the reason why I enjoy Prego is that it's not all chunky. I just want a red, flavorful sauce. No onions, and I definitely don't want to see a tomato in my tomato sauce. And I'll gobble it up. And I've never been to Italy. I've only left the United States maybe twice in my life, and that was to go to Canada. I've heard that Italian food is different than Italian-American food. I heard their pizza's different. Why would it be? American pizza's great. I've heard their pasta's different. It's all chunky and gross and stuff like that. But a lot of people do go to Italy for the food. They go there. Extra chunky onions, please, all over my spaghetti noodles. And you're like, please, Maitre D', make sure they're microwaved like a true gentleman deserves. But we're in Italy. We got to eat the food. I have a jar of sauce. No, sorry. I couldn't get past customs. I have a can of sauce in my pocket. I was like, ooh, yummy, generic sauce. As I pull out my can opener and I'm opening it up, I ordered a plain plate of noodles. We're sitting there. Waiter comes out with our food. You ordered whatever. And I open my can up, I'm pouring sauce all over your food. I'm all, no, trust me, this will make it better. You're like, it's not even heated. He poured it right out of the can all over my expensive Italian food. It's heated by my body. You know how I had to get this past customs? I had to tuck it up somewhere. And then the waiter brings out some bread. And he goes, hey, everybody, look at me. I'm a waiter. I'm a waiter in Italy. And we have bread for you, straight from Italy. And he kind of winks. We're like, what? Okay, I mean, it's nothing evil about that wink. Straight from Italy. Well, you may say it has a international flavor or something like that. And that's when he pulls out a big piece of sourdough bread. We're like, isn't sourdough French? Isn't that like a French delicacy? He goes, manja, just eat it. He's all stuffing it in our mouth. Sourdough bread manufactured in Italy, but the recipe came from... Oh, also Italy. I guess it does all take place in Italy. I thought this came from somewhere else. Well, anyways, he's like, that's why I winked, because I knew Jason was an idiot who didn't read his notes. He simply had to scroll down half an inch and he would see, it's all from Italy, you buffoon. And he walks away. We're eating the sourdough bread and we're like, I guess it's good. Guess it's kind of delicious. I'm dipping it in the can. The can of sauce. I'm like, this will make it even better. Yeah, it's okay. And that's when the waiter comes back and he goes, how did you like the sourdough bread? We're like, yeah, it was pretty decent. I mean, for free bread. And he winks. He's really charging us $100 a bite. He's like, oh, yes, that's how we do it in Italy. We rip everybody off. We go, it's pretty good. And then he looks at us. All of a sudden, his face turns from friendly to fearful. He takes a step back, then another step back. And he's like, manja. And he runs away. Because what we just ate is a new type of sourdough bread that was not created by a chef, that was not even created by normal bread making procedure, which I don't know what that is. But anyways, this bread, the sourdough bread, which is real, should not exist today. Only in the mind of a madman or a mad doctor would this sourdough ever make it from oven into our bellies. This is an absolutely disgusting story. Not as gross as the second story, but this one just really kind of turned my stomach. Do you guys know the story of Otzi? Otzi the mummy? Around 5,300 years ago, there was this guy who we have named Otzi. We don't know the dude's real name. It's not like he was wearing a badge when this happened. He's like a caveman dude, right? 5,300 years ago. He's an old-timey man. And he was walking through the Alps, the Otzal Alps in Italy, carrying a copper axe. What he was doing up there, we don't know entirely. He's probably just like, I doubt he was out on an enjoyable walk. He was probably fleeing someone or trying to find someone to kill with his copper axe. He's a middle-aged man covered in 61 tattoos. And while he's traveling through the Otzal Alps, he decides to eat some dried goat meat, some elk meat, and something called einkorn, which is like a type of wheat. He's like, man, this pretty is cool life. 5,300 years before anyone's going to talk about me. Here I am eating this delicious meat. And he's enjoying the cool Alps air. But his copper axe is at the ready because he knows danger is nearby. But he doesn't know how close. And he starts screaming in pain as an arrow pierces his back. And this man, he's now stumbling through the beautiful Alps of Italy until he finally falls down and dies. But then he freezes. He definitely wasn't moving that much after he died either, but I mean the way that the temperature was, his body is nearly perfectly preserved. And we fast forward to 1991 when two hikers stumble across the body of who we now call Otzi the mummy. We call him a mummy even though he's technically not a mummy, just like the movie I watched, The Mummy, which was not about a mummy, it was about a demon. Otzi the Mummy is the term that's often used. Perfectly preserved body. I mean, he looks terrible. That's why nearly perfectly. He looks pretty bad. But I mean, listen, my body probably won't look that good 10 minutes after death, let alone 5,300 years. When he was discovered, they took him, he was reported. I'm sure the hikers didn't immediately call 911. They're like, well, maybe we can resuscitate him. Maybe this will be like Encino Man. He's covered in tattoos. I bet he's a party animal. Scientists get his body. They have to make sure that as they're removing it, that they keep it perfectly stable because they want to analyze this guy. They're not just immediately taking pickaxes to the ice and holding up hairdryers. He's been studied for decades. This preserved man from 5,300 years ago. They know what his last meal was. They know that he had a copper axe because that was nearby. But we don't know who he was. We don't know where he came from, what he was doing up there, all of this stuff. What's happened recently is that they, what does any of that have to do with the sourdough bread that I recently ate? It is now in my stomach. Well, what happened was, so Dr. Mohammed Saran of the Urac Research Institute in Bolzano, Italy, he had this quote. This has kind of been making the news rounds over the weekend. He has this quote. He says, quote, "If you tell anyone you have yeast, they immediately ask, can we use it for bread?" Unquote. First off, that's never happened, right? That's never happened. No one's ever said, oh, I have some yeast. Before they can say the word infection, someone goes, oh, can I use it to make bread? And you're like, oh, yeah, sure, I guess. Very disgusting bread, but bread nonetheless. Here's some of my yeast infection. Scoop it out with a Dixie cup. Otzi has yeast in him. Otzi has yeast. They have figured all this stuff out. They go, let's go ahead and extract some of this yeast from Otzi's body. So he's normally kept around 21 degrees Fahrenheit. That matches the temperature of where he was at when he was frozen. What they did was they let him out for 5 hours. Around 39 degrees, just enough to cause a little bit of a melt. And then the melted pool water inside of Otzi, it's not like on his eyelid, which would be disgusting enough. He has all like these exposed cavities of his body. And as the water's melting, there are these pools of water inside of his body. They used that brackish water to extract yeast from a 5,300-year-old body and use that to make sourdough bread. Which Professor Dr. Muhammad, which is now going to have to add a third title, Professor Dr. and Cannibal, Mohammed Saran, said that this was, quote, very, very good sourdough, unquote. Now, technically, it doesn't make you a cannibal, but I noticed when I was over there, the lust in his eyes grew each time he took a bite. And he goes, if this is delicious, I wonder how his ribs would taste. Sourdough bread made from the yeast of a 5,300-year-old mummy. And you go, well, I mean, I guess it's kind of disgusting as you're just being contrary in this episode. You're trying to hold in your vomit. You're like, that's perfectly normal. Waiter, more bread, please. Here's the thing. That whole thing about every so often a disease pops up we don't know how to cure? And they'll tell us, oh, it came from this region of South Africa, or this came from northern Mongolia, or this disease came from Mozambique or whatever. Now I'm sort of think they leave out the part where a scientist in that area was doing something stupid, cruel, or disgusting, and unleashed this virus. I mean, I can think of one good example, COVID, right? The lab leak theory most likely is what happened. You gotta wonder how many of these diseases are started like this. Now, a disease, just so we're clear, a disease technically hasn't started from this guy, but apparently this bread is a pretty recent recipe. I just don't think it's smart. I don't think it's smart to scrape the yeast off of any dead body. 5,300 days or 5,300 years old. It's probably a terrible idea. But they did it. I have to add, too, I definitely wouldn't do it to anybody described as a mummy's body. Just use common sense. You go, Jason, now yeast is yeast. It's floating around everywhere. There's no difference between the yeast. You're being really argumentative this episode. Even the yeast that's floating through the air, or the yeast on a old corpse, it's all the same. Well, I will say that this particular corpse was also infected with a cancer-causing strain of HPV. They were able to discover that as well. So, yes, you're right, contrarian. Enjoy your HPV-spreading bread. You're like, no, why did I rub this bread all over my genitals? I loved it so much. I was making love to the sourdough, and now it's all over my lips and my genitals. I just don't think it's smart. I think that it is probably a bad idea to take anything off of a mummy and then turn it into something consumable. It's either some people might go, it's a interesting science story, and it is for sure. But it also could be creating one of those viruses that 50 years from now, it's called the Otzi virus. And people go, yeah, we don't know how it started. We don't know how it started. And let's talk to Dr. Saran. And he shows up, he's just half sourdough at this point. It's like The Last of Us. And he's just like walking around, more bread than man. He's like, yeah, we don't really understand how this happened. But would someone like to take a bite out of me? A monster among us all. I hope I don't get sued by this guy. He actually slowly is turning into sourdough. He's like, oh, my secret shame. How did he know? How did he know? The very least, it's a interesting scientific story. The worst, it's some sort of disease. But I'd say even worse than that, this is how curses start. This is how worldwide pandemics of paranormal could start. I guess it's never happened in real life, but I've seen a couple movies about it. When truly the last of us are hiding in a bunker somewhere as we hear bread-crusted demons roaming the world, our former fellow humans, now screaming out in pain, the only thing that can alleviate the demon inside of them, that can feed this dark energy that now possesses them, is more humans. Or a little more bread. But the problem is the first people who died were all the chefs. They're like, no, we must eat humans now. We're hiding in a bunker and we're like, man, if only someone had eaten bread. I mean, okay, that's a bit of a stretch, right? You're like, Jason, I think you're just making stuff up now. You're just trying to be dramatic because you saw a movie called The Mummy, which clearly scared you. Some people say that the yeast is more recent than 5,300 years ago, but that was a guy named Dr. Nikolai Oskolov. He goes, no, that is more recent yeast. It's not 5,300-year-old yeast. Because I guess Dr. Oskolov was a guy who found some ancient fungus in Otzi's stomach. And he probably thought there was like, look at me, everyone. I'm the fungus guy. He's walking around the laboratory pushing people over, pushing them into Otzi. They're like, no, now I'm going to become a mummy too. The curse spreads. Dr. Oskolov was like, no, this is not a real old yeast. It's probably yeast that's more recent. He kind of seemed to be poo-pooing the whole thing. I think he's just kind of jealous. You've heard of sour grapes. He has sourdough. That's the new term. He's just like, what? No, remember me? I found the fungus as they're holding a big party in the next room eating sourdough. And he's like, come on, guys, that's not even ancient yeast. What are you guys doing? That's totally more... He's watching his coworkers mutate into creatures beyond imagination. He's like, oh, no. They must have eaten the ancient fungus in the gut. He seemed a bit of a sour grapes guy. But anyways, interesting scientific story and possible world-ending plague coming out of a laboratory in Italy. Oh, the monkeys, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. I'm going to toss you the keys to the world famous carbonocopter. We are leaving behind Italy. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Canada? Yesterday we covered kind of an overview of what is known as Vore, which is a sexual fetish involving the fantasy of being swallowed alive. It's not cannibalism. I mean, technically it is, but you're not chewed up. You're swallowed alive, and you get digested in their stomach acid. Now, sometimes it's portrayed as a loving relationship, like you're just hanging out inside this giant, or you got shrank down. I mean, it's one of those fetishes that's just completely impossible to have in real life. Sometimes you're just living inside this person until you slowly digest. Other times, it's a very peaceful way down the esophagus until you fall into the stomach, where you either suffocate or are digested by stomach acid. I don't understand that. That was pretty much the bulk of yesterday's episode, so I'm not going to relitigate everything I talked about before. But it's just odd, the idea of a fantasy that at the end you are completely destroyed just doesn't make sense to me. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, this is fun. All of this buildup is fun, but I know I'm eventually going to slowly get dissolved in acid. It doesn't really make sense to me. Well, what we're going to talk about today, I want to have some specific examples of, Jason, just drop it. Just drop it. We get it. You think it's weird. It is weird. We all agree. Just move on. Just don't cover it anymore. Well, as I was researching this topic, I found some interesting things. There is a subcategory of pornography, which is Vore porn. And yesterday I played an audio clip for that. You know what, Jamie? Pull up that audio clip again. Let's watch that. Let's listen to that audio clip again from that movie. What was it called? I think it was called From Boyfriend to Bad Gas.
Do you like what you see? You're on the menu, little man. My stomach walls start gripping you, stinky, dirty pile of filth coming out of my perfect ass. Bye.
Or it might be the morning routine of a Vore pred. I don't remember which audio clip I actually played, but it's one of those two, right? You're like, oh, I can't wait till Google those at work. I don't know why you keep listening to this podcast at work, bro. There's other names like I Turned My Friend into Oysters. That's a Vore video, and it's just a woman eating oysters. I was watching it. No, that doesn't make any sense. She just wanted an excuse to write oysters off on her taxes. That's all. And then she had one called, this is all from the same actress, I forgot her name. I don't have detailed notes on it because I can't put it in the show notes. I forgot who did it actually. It was Goddess something, but she has another video. Latex Giantess devours, digests, and excretes tiny man. Why did you have that last part, Jason? I never had really thought about that. Even after yesterday's episode, even though it was about anal Vore, never thought about a man actually becoming poop. But yeah, that's what that video is. The video that I will go into your work. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, let me Google that for you. Click. Let's take a look at this. In September of 2013, of the Archives of Sexual Behavior, an article written called Vorophilia, a case study in masochism and erotic consumption. It was written by Amy D. Likens from the University of New England and James Cantor from the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. And it's a really interesting read. It kind of goes into some people, it's all about the love with the Vore. They go, other people are into Vore and they want to eat their enemies. And they quoted this line. It should tell you kind of when the paper was written, or when, at least when this person was interviewed. They had the quote, I would eat Bush or Cheney so I could destroy them, unquote. You're like, what? Cheney's dead at this point. I mean, I guess you can dig his body up. But this idea, I'm going to swallow my political enemies. And so I thought, I wonder if this is still going on. Oh, I Googled Donald Trump Vore. And oddly enough, you're like, you're thinking, what could have possibly popped up on Jason's computer if you typed in the words Trump Vore? Oddly enough, the very first image that popped up was indeed Trump involved in Vore fetish imagery, but it was him and he had Biden in his stomach. Donald Trump had eaten Joe Biden, which metaphorically he did during that debate, but literally in this drawing. Now, you can't go off your first instinct. If that was that, I'd go, are Vore people more conservatives or Vore-servatives? That's just the first image that popped up. Well, no, I kept looking. The next one I found was Strong Bad. He's like some cartoon character from Homestar. Remember that old internet cartoon or the YouTube thing? That one had a picture of Strong Bad with Trump in his belly. So, read into that what you will. I don't know what the political ramifications are of that. I do think it's funny is as Trump is being digested inside of Strong Bad, they show him still posting on Truth Social. So, working until the very end. Well, let's look at the story of this man, who we will call Steve. They actually don't give his real name because it's a medical journal. They give him the name Steven, which is a fake name. This story starts in the year, well, it doesn't start, but The story, he's being interviewed in the year 2002. He's 45 years old at the time. So what happens is Stephen goes to the sexual behaviors clinic of the Law and Mental Health Program at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto, Canada. And he checks himself in because he is worried about his sexual addictions. And what comes out of this series of treatments or interviews or whatever you want to call them truly reveals something that is considered, at least when this paper was written in 2013, truly unique. It had never been seen in medical literature before. Stephen goes, I was a normal kid, normal upbringing, nothing weird about my life. But as I got older, I became a voyeur. I would sneak around my neighborhood, and I knew the houses that had pools, and I knew the houses that were occupied by beautiful women. So I would sneak around the neighborhood, and I would peer through the fences, and I would see these women swimming in their pools. And that gave him such a rush, the naughtiness of the voyeurism. I'm watching them, they don't even know. He would engage in this, then he'd run home and he would masturbate. Voyeurism is actually a super dangerous fetish. A lot of science, a lot of research has been done to that. That's what would be called a gateway fetish. A lot of people who become serial rapists, or probably even just regular rapists, start off with voyeurism. You have voyeurism and then murder, you have voyeurism and rape, you have voyeurism and all sorts of things. Breaking and entering, right? Because you're like, oh, I know the layout of this house, I've been peeking in this window for so long. It's a gateway fetish. It's actually a first step for a very dangerous descent. But that's not particularly disgusting. I mean, it can be, it's a bad sign, right? It can be a bad sign, but it's not super disgusting. Stephen said, when I was young, I also had a fetish for licking people's buttholes. Like, what? It's quite the escalation. It is. And we're just getting started. I don't understand that. You're like, Jason, we get it. You're very vanilla. Everything outside of missionary position, you're like, what? I don't understand this. No, that's disgusting. I'm sorry if you're into licking buttholes, but I mean, I won't even eat sourdough bread made in a laboratory under clinical conditions because it comes from the yeast of an HPV-infected 5,300-year-old mummy. I do have standards. It just seems real dirty. Just seems super, filthy. Maybe that's what you're into? I don't know. I'm what's known as a super taster. I definitely do not want to lick somebody's butthole. Stephen also developed a fetish for, or he might have had these fetishes for a while, but they're definitely exhibiting as he gets older. Foot fetish. Now we're back to something fairly normal. I'm not into feet either, but Stephen starts to get into really sexy feet, which is a step up from the butthole. I will say that we are making progress, Stephen. But what he would do is he would go about it in a criminal way. He would go to the library. And, a lot of libraries, especially college libraries, big city libraries, will have the study booths. It's basically a little desk with a wall on each side. So it's semi-private. You don't have to worry about being bugged by everybody. But it's not completely private. He would go there and he would watch women take off their shoes, right? They've been walking around campus all day long. They take off their shoes. They're sitting there at their little cubicle in the library reading or studying, what have you. He liked watching women take off their shoes, but that wasn't enough. He then began crawling under these tables and smelling their feet. So that is criminal. That is assault. Even though he's not physically touching them, that's criminal. You're invading someone's space for your sexual perversion. If you accidentally bump into someone's feet, you're not going to go to jail. But if you bump into their feet with your nose and you have a huge erection while doing it, you're probably going to look at some jail time, especially because he's doing it over and over again. At one point, he did pay a dominatrix $250 to allow him to sit under a table. He wanted to live out this fantasy to the fullest extent. He paid a dominatrix $250 to sit under a table and lick her feet for 30 minutes. I do have to say that's quite the dedication. Can you imagine licking something for 30 minutes? Like, I was like, oh, hats off to you, buddy. I can barely make it 30 seconds. Imagine if you licked something. Jason, he didn't do it for 30 minutes straight. That's how much it cost to have her in the room. He didn't just go, nope, 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 nope. I should release a bonus episode of that sound playing for 30 minutes. 30 minutes licking somebody's foot. Or feet. Probably did both. She just one. She's like, the skin's all rubbed red. She's like, switch to my other foot. He goes, no, I'm a lefty. I love the lefties. Nom, nom, nom. Left foot's for me only. Still, though, you figure like your mouth would get dry. Jason, you probably had a glass of water. Now you're just being dumb. He didn't actually lick it for 30 minutes straight. He obviously took breaks. You don't know, though, right? You don't know. But it gets weirder. Because at this point, Steven starts to get this new fetish. A fetish I've never heard before. He wants to become a woman's butthole. Long pause there for you to go, what? I know, man. I've never heard of that either. I'm totally at a loss. And it seems like an odd change. You're like, ew, gross. You sucked on some girl's dirty foot. You're all, ugh, that's disgusting. I'm going back to my butthole love. But he doesn't just want to lick buttholes. I feel bad for making all the butthole jokes because I know how this episode ends and it's very grim. But he wants to become a woman's butthole. I don't really have anything to say about that. I don't have any commentary to add. There's nothing I can add to such an insane statement. He wants to become a woman's butthole, and this is where we start to get into the Vore fetish. But again, that's like separate. Vore people will want to be swallowed alive and sometimes swallowed through the butthole. Like we talked about in yesterday's episode, I'm almost out of energy, man. And it gets even weirder than this. This isn't even the weirdest part. I'm like, oh, I'm like discouraged. I'm like, oh man. I keep looking over at my notes. I was like, oh no, that's coming up. Imagine going from a foot fetish to wanting to become a woman's butthole. Remember, he checked himself into this place because he wants to deal with his sexual addiction. And what's funny is, as he's talking about all this stuff, they go, oh, so you're concerned about these bizarre thoughts of becoming a woman's butthole and licking feet and all that stuff? And he goes, no, actually, I'm not worried about any of that or any of the stuff we're about to come up with, the stuff we're about to talk about. His biggest fear is that he's gay. Because he has these fantasies, too, where he meets a woman and she brings him home and she has a husband and the husband has sex with him. And that's his fantasy. And he goes, am I gay? And the doctor goes, no, not necessarily. I mean, a lot of dudes fantasize about that stuff from time to time. And then he would go, well, what if I had a fantasy about, being held down and a dominant man penetrated me? I'm not saying this. Steven is. What if I had these fantasies about a dominant man meeting him at a bar and I go back to his place and he penetrates me and I love it? Does that make me gay? And the doctor's like, no, not necessarily. I mean, you're starting to edge a little bit closer to that, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're gay. Because Steven doesn't want to be gay. Steven doesn't really have a problem with everything else, even though legally, being gay is probably the most legal thing he can do. Like, what? That's a weird way to put it, but you know what I mean? Like, when you're licking women's feet without their knowledge or consent or peeking on them as they're bathing unnoticed, those are crimes. Those are actual crimes, but his big concern is he's wondering if he's into dudes. Not super concerned about wanting to become a woman's butthole, which I don't understand. Not just from a fetish standpoint, but how do you fantasize as that? Is he a little face down there? Is it like his face sticking out? No, I'm assuming, no, he would want to be the butthole itself. That's gross. It's gross. It's all disgusting. Anyways, he wants to become a woman's butthole. I've repeated that multiple times, almost because I'm afraid to go into what else he wants to talk about. He does have a Vore fetish. He talks about wanting to be eaten by a woman, and that's typical Vore stuff, right? It's typical Vore fantasy, but it's not just that. What was interesting is when they wrote this paper up, this medical paper, they said, we had never seen anything like this, and there's nothing in the literature about this. It's not that he just wanted to be eaten, because that's the Vore fetish that is been around. The term Vore was coined like in the 1990s in fetish online communities. That's not new. He doesn't want to be swallowed to feel the comforting grasp of a warm esophagus. He doesn't want to be swallowed to just live in the tummy for a while and make the woman feel all full. No, he specifically wants to be swallowed because he wants to turn into feces. That's his fantasy. He wants to become poop. And at the time, this was completely unheard of. I played an audio clip from a fetish video that describes just that. But even then, so it's interesting because sometimes the medical community can't catch up to the perversions that are out there. It's the first time it's been in the literature, but, I just randomly picked a video and it had that. Oh, yeah. Oh, now you're coming out of my butthole. And then she goes, bye-bye, as she's flushing it. If you didn't understand what that ending sound effect was, you're like, oh, yeah. I tried blanking it from my mind, Jason. Thank you for bringing it back and using your voice. He wants to become feces. He doesn't want to sit in the stomach and make the woman all enlarged. He specifically wants to become poop, which is technically different than wanting to be her butthole. Now he wants to become her poop. And not just that, he also, you tell me what's weirder, right? I know what I think's weirder, but I'm curious as to what you, put it in the YouTube comments and use your real name. He fantasizes about becoming poop, which I don't understand how you do that. Like, how do you, listen, man, I'm a writer, right? I can think of all sorts of weird stuff, and I do all the time, but how you're like, yay, I'm poop? Is that the end of the fantasy? Yay! I imagine Mr. Hanky, obviously, so I can kind of conceptualize someone turning into poop, but he also fantasizes about becoming semen and shooting out of a man's penis. Right? So that's kind of gay. That's about as gay as you can get, Steven. I'm sorry. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being gay. I don't have a problem with it. But if you're afraid of being gay, I imagine fantasizing about Jason, that's not gay at all. That's the opposite of gay. You're leaving a gay man. You're not having sex with one. It's just odd, man. Like, I don't understand that. That should just be the name of this episode. I don't understand that. How do you conceptualize yourself becoming semen? How do you become semen in the first place? Because it's not like if a woman ate you, she's going to poop you out eventually. But if a man eats you, unless I've been doing this wrong for 49 years of my life, I'm pretty sure when I eat food, it isn't converted into seminal fluid. I don't know how he gets in there in the first place. But he wants to, he can come up with a couple different ideas. He shrinks himself down, crawls up through the urethra. Who knows? He's injected into the testicles via a giant needle. I don't know, right? Because I don't fantasize about it. I'm sure he can give you a detailed explanation of it. But the end result, he doesn't just want to reside inside a man's balls. He wants to eject himself from the testicles. And whee! I mean, again, how did that go splat? How does the fantasy end? He wants to become semen. He wants to become poop. Now, I can say, yes, I did randomly find a video about a Vore woman eating a guy and flushing him down the toilet, and that's probably part of the fantasy. I have never found, nor will I search for, a fetish video about people becoming semen. I'm sure that is a very small... wanting to become it is just so weird. Now, you go, Jason. Okay, at this point, you're kind of just making fun of somebody who's borderline mentally ill. Well, we're going to get... It gets worse, okay? And again, while you may go, Jason, you're fetish shaming, which no one actually has ever accused me of on this podcast. I get that accusation more in real life. Because I talk about this stuff in real life. People are like, oh man, can't he just let his freak flag fly? You gotta draw the line somewhere, right? And I draw to becoming a woman's butthole. But anyways, now we get into the gross stuff. What? All of that stuff was not disgusting. Oh yeah, Jason, it was pretty gross. Well, let me tell you this. It gets grosser. So if you happen to be sitting down eating, say, a chocolate eclair or a cup full of pudding, or a hot brownie fudge sundae, you may want to put it aside and or shut off the podcast and enjoy the rest of your day and your delicious treat. Steven, so all of these are fantasies, right? You can't actually become human semen. You can't become poop unless you, of course, like a cannibal gets you or something like that. I guess you can become worm poop or something when you die, but you can't actually become a woman's butthole. But if you have this particular fetish, there is a wide variety of ways to get it. I once read a book when I was in high school that stated it's possible between 5 and 10% of the population of New York has a feces eating fetish. That was just based on one psychiatrist's practice. She said, I have this practice I started in New York. I didn't specify that I was going to treat people who ate feces, but she said 10% of my clientele loves to eat poop. Just out of this weird sample group. Now, it's not, it was her estimate that, you could have, I think it was 2 to 10% of the population of New York may actually fantasize or have eaten feces. 2% sounds fairly reasonable, right? I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I can see, because it's the ultimate taboo. It's truly, what's the word? I don't know if it's base. It's truly, it's the ultimate rejection of society if you do this. It's disgusting. It's the ultimate rejection of your own health, but if you really wanted to stick it to the man, you would eat poop type of thing. But anyways, so you can kind of guess where this is going. Steven often ate human poop. I shouldn't say often, right? He did it a couple times, but I mean, again, that's okay, well, anything more than 0 is too many times. A couple of times he pulled poop out of a toilet and ate it. And it's very interesting. They do not specify whose toilet. If it was his toilet, that's disgusting. But if it was a public toilet, think, what's grosser, really? Eating your own feces or eating somebody else's feces? And before you say, is it Heather Graham's feces? You don't know. You just walk into a room one day, you have a choice. You have to choose one or the other. I'm not going to make you choose, but what's grosser, eating your own feces or eating the feces of a random person? It could be the coolest person in the world. It could be Brad Pitt's feces, right? Tom Cruise's feces. You're like, Jason, it doesn't matter. It's all disgusting. I know, that's what I'm saying, but it would be grosser if you didn't know. You're like, no, Jason, it'd be disgusting. No matter what. Well, anyways, if he ate his own feces, that's gross. If he ate it out of a public toilet for some reason, I find that even more disgusting. One day he got some really bad news, and he's like, dang it, I didn't get the promotion, or I didn't get to become that woman's butthole, that one wish Willow, that failed. I snapped it and nothing happened. He got some bad news, so he wandered out into the woods and found some cow feces and ate that while he was pleasuring himself. Again, I don't really have anything to add to that. What's grosser, cow feces or donkey feces? I don't really have... I mean, you kind of feel bad for the guy at that point. What could go so wrong in your life? You're like, oh, that's it. Where are the cow feces? Oh, man, I didn't get the Johnson account done in time. Oh, man. Where are the cow feces? You're walking through the office. You're like, hey, have you seen where the cow feces are? I've been looking. What are you talking about? I'm having kind of a bad day. Hey, have you used that toilet recently? Maybe I'll check in there. Anyways, so they said, he's in there to be treated. He's in there to find out whether or not he's gay. He's listing all this stuff. And the medical staff is like, well, okay, do you want to do anything about all of this stuff? Like, do you want to try to contain it? Because remember, he's also saying he had, just an addiction, a sex addiction. And he goes, well, I'm not for sure, what can you do? What can you do about this stuff? And he goes, a lot of these fetishes, a lot of these desires started in moments of depression. So they recommended, they go, well, there's a couple different things we can do. We can try to treat the depression through counseling and medication, or we can actually work on drugs that will help reduce your sex drive, because that in turn will reduce these urges. But this is the thing that's interesting about the medical community, and I'd say society at large nowadays, is that there is this thing about kink shaming and fetish shaming, and you're like, if he's not hurting anybody, then who cares if he's eating cow feces? I would argue that I care, because it's gross and it's unhealthy. You shouldn't eat poop. If you want to fantasize about being a butthole, whatever, but you shouldn't eat feces, and you shouldn't lick people's feet against their will, you shouldn't be a peeping Tom, all this stuff. But they said, there's a quote in this paper, quote, because there is no method shown to change a person's paraphilic sexual interest into non-paraphilic interest, i.e. fetish to non-fetish, we recommended that his treatment help him to adjust to, rather than change or suppress, his sexual interests, unquote. And you go, Jason, that's fair enough, right? Like, they're not trying to teach him why being a woman's butthole is absolutely disgusting, but they're, maybe helping him adjust, maybe buying him an extra tight parka, a brown parka, and said, maybe you can wear this, maybe that'll help your urges. Maybe we can help him adjust to or accept these things. Maybe he is gay, right? Maybe his fear of being gay is holding him back from experiencing this life, or maybe he's bi, I don't know, right? The doctors are like, we don't get it, we don't know. But instead of trying to suppress these things, why don't we help him adjust to them and accept them, that these are parts of him? Okay, right? I get it. I'd probably recommend, is there any medication that'll make you stop eating feces? But then we get to this. It says, quote, Stephen did not follow up with the SBC. That's the place he checked himself into. Stephen did not follow up with the SBC following this assessment. So it is not known whether he followed through on our treatment recommendations, and if so, the outcome of that treatment, unquote. So he came in, he talked. I don't know if this was one session or a series of sessions, but after he left, they lost all contact with him. They don't know what Steven's up to now. They don't really have the authority to track him down. He wasn't put in this place. He checked himself in because he was concerned that he was gay, and he listed all this other stuff. And they basically, continue the paper. He was the main example they talked about, but there was a couple other examples in here. There was a guy they called the Turkey Man who wanted to be, again, Vore, but he wanted to be cooked like a turkey, so he built a giant cardboard oven with knobs and everything. It was big enough to fit him. And he'd hire a dominatrix to undress him and put him in the oven, and then talk in detail about how she was going to cook him and then devour him. Well, that seems tame, right? You're like, oh, that's quaint. That's a beautiful beginning of a love story. The Turkey Man. They talked about a couple different people in this one, but Stephen was the one that they talked the most about. And you go, okay, Jason, so this guy checked himself in, and he's struggling with his sexual desires. He may or may not be gay or bi, but he wants to be a woman's butthole, wants to become semen, wants to do all this stuff, and then he just leaves. He shoots himself out of a cannon. He's like, oh, I got this idea from the Turkey Man. I bought myself a cannon. Whee! He's dressed in all white as he flies away from the hospital. You go, Jason, okay, so a guy came in, admitted all these fetishes, and then bounced. What's the big deal? Well, this is what's interesting, and I want to say I saved this for last, but I read this super early on, so it totally colored my view of Stephen. It really changes the game to the story. I'm telling you it at the end because it's just probably the darkest part of the story. And the reason why I think it's not safe to just let Stephen walk away with these sexual desires, which he has said twice have led him to criminal acts. One, being a peeping Tom. Voyeurism is against the law. It's hard to prove, right? If I thought I lost my penny through the fence, but if the cops intercept him enough time speaking through fences, then obviously he's going to have trouble with the law, trespassing, all that stuff. The second one, licking women's feet against their will. But he actually confessed to a third crime, probably the worst crime of all. And while it did happen when he was young, and he said he deeply regretted it, if you tell someone, hey, it's okay to have these sexual desires, there's nothing you can do to change them, and in fact, you should adjust your life to accept the sexual desires rather than to fight them so much, that can make someone go from deep-seated regret to thinking, maybe I needed to just accept this part of my life too. Now, Stephen didn't say that. I'm putting that on him. But I don't think it's super safe to just wander out of this clinic when this happens. And let me say this before I get started, though. On the other hand, people need to feel safe when they talk about this stuff. I don't want to feel like if you come to a medical facility and talk about your fetishes, they're going to put a tag on you and then track you for the rest of your life. But again, there's a difference between eating feces out of a toilet, as disgusting as that is. It's gross. There's a huge difference between that and just fantasizing about being a woman's butthole, because you're not doing anything wrong. You're just having a fantasy. Nothing wrong with fantasizing about having same-sex relationships and dominatrix stuff. Nothing wrong with all of that. And you should feel free to discuss that with your medical professionals. However, this concerned me when Stephen was 13 years old to 15 years old. This wasn't a one-off event. For 2 years, he would, just like, you know, how he used to sniff girls' feet underneath the library. That wasn't a first-time thing. Neither was the peeking in on the women swimming. From the age of 13 to 15, this is gross, he performed, I don't even know how much detail I want to go into this. He basically molested between 5 to 10 children while they were sleeping. I really don't want to go into the details, right? It's just gross, okay? It's gross. It's related to earlier fetishes. The kids were always younger than him, and he would lick their butts while they were sleeping. And they were really, really younger than him. And he goes, they never knew, or I don't think they knew what I was doing to them. And he was really regretful for what he did as an adult. But when you do something over the course of 2 years, like, again, I'm not saying it'd be okay if it was a one-time thing. But when you're doing it multiple times, 5 to 10 kids over the course of 2 years with both men and women, or boys and girls, I should say, all of them under the age of 12, and disgustingly low. Again, I'm not saying 12 is okay, but I'm saying the age range was between 3 and 12. It's all bad. It's all bad, but you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even want to say it that young. That's just, it's all, you're like, Jason, but you said, listen, you know what I mean. You know what I mean? It's all disgusting, but like that, I mean, like, it's all bad. But I don't even want to say the age 3. I mean, like, I can't fathom it. I can say, I don't understand how someone could become semen, but I can't fathom, I cannot in any realm imagine somebody thinking for one moment, even a 13-year-old, thinking that's okay. And the reason why Stephen thought that was okay was because his fetishes at that age were overriding his judgment. And he didn't say that he continued to molest the kids after the age of 15. He did volunteer that information. That might have been the last time he molested kids. But remember, he still committed criminal acts after that, licking women's feet without their knowledge. Just because they're of age, just because they weren't underage feet, doesn't make it less criminal. So he continued to commit criminal acts to satiate his desires. And then he goes to these medical professionals and they go, listen, there's nothing we can do to change these desires. You just need to adjust your life to fit these desires. What do you think that would say to someone who's already committed multiple criminal acts throughout their life for sexual purposes, including some of the worst offenses possible, i.e., against children? 5 to 10 children over the course of 2 years. He walks out of the SBC, never to return. They don't know what happened. They don't know if he followed any of their advice, but they gave him the worst piece of advice possible. They gave a piece of advice to a man who uses his fetishes to commit crimes and say, there is nothing we can do to change this. We want to help you adjust to accepting these. Let me read that quote again. Because there is no method shown to change a person's paraphilic sexual interest into non-paraphilic sexual interest, we recommended that his treatment help him to adjust rather than change or suppress his sexual interest. If someone is saying, I'm committing criminal acts, if I'm endangering my own physical health because of my sexual desires, I think maybe we should try to suppress those. Maybe they can't be changed. But maybe not let this guy walk out and being like, hey man, let your freak flag fly. There's nothing you can do to change it. Adjust your life to them. Embrace them. We can't change it. We can't suppress it. And this guy's admitted to multiple sexual crimes. And those are the ones he admitted to. And the ones he admitted to were horrible. So those were the only ones he ever did, or there's worse things out there, more recent ones out there that he did not tell them about. So yeah, you go, Jason, you're doing an episode about a mentally ill guy, you're making fun of his fetishes, you're laughing, you're going, I don't understand that, that's gross. I think he's a gross person. And I think a medical community and a society that is so afraid of being called kink shamers or so afraid of being called closed-minded that a man who has admitted to pedophilia, non-consensual foot licking. I know that's not as bad, but I'm just trying to list them all. He's admitted to pedophilia. He's admitted to violating women's boundaries, their consent, licking their feet. He's also admitted to voyeurism, which again is one of the most dangerous. It's the gateway sexual crime. And there is any detective worth their salt will agree with that. Homicide, murderers start off voyeuristic. Rapists start off voyeuristic. They're so afraid to say that. They're so afraid to say, hey, listen, bud, we don't think you're gay, but you have some deep-seated issues, and they need to be treated. You actually need to undergo treatment. In fact, we're going to admit you to this facility now. But no, let it. You be you, buddy. I think that's dangerous. Again, I'm not saying that you need to take everyone who comes in who has a poop fetish and lock them up and give them electroshock therapy. I'm not saying that at all. There's a huge difference here. Someone comes in and says they have a poop fetish, I think you should have a long talk about gut health. You know, right? I think that's the bare minimum you can do. Talk about intestinal worms. Do I think that's super important to change? Not necessarily, no. I think it can lead to some serious health problems for you and the people around you, obviously, if you're like sharing drinks. But when someone comes in and admits the stuff that Steven did, I think that we need to address that because it's a serious issue. And they didn't. They just go, there's nothing we can do about it. And he walked out. And they don't know if he followed up on their treatment or how it went. But if you tell a guy, hey, listen, there's nothing you can do to change this, just accept it. What other treatment would you do? You're like, well, the doctor said it was okay. So I'm going to reward myself with a nice trip to the library, Steven says as he walks into the nearest library and starts crawling around on the floor. Like, Jason, you don't know that. Listen, I don't, but I can make an educated guess. He's committed crimes because of his fetishes. He will do it again, especially if he's told it's okay. We can't change you. We're not even going to try to suppress these desires. You just got to accept them. Super dangerous for society. And yet that is how the medical community operates. And honestly, I think that's how a lot of society operates right now as well. We're too afraid to say, that's dangerous, you shouldn't do that. You're dangerous. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. But instead we don't. I get it, judge not, lest ye be judged yourself. But, I mean, you gotta have a limit. And to me, Steven is far, far, far beyond that limit. But not far from help. I believe he can be helped, but you need to have people brave enough to tell him he needs help. Whether he wants it or not. deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at facebook.com/deadrabbitradio. TikTok is @deadrabbitradio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm so glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.